This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Friday, February 2nd of 2024. If you haven't heard it already, Punxsutawney Phil did not see his shadow. So lucky for us, that does mean an earlier spring, or so we would think. And let's just hope that Punxsutawney Phil is correct for this year. In today's episode, I run down some of the latest ag news headlines, including an interview with Myron Stine, the president of Stine Seed. As for right now, let's go ahead and take a look at the ag markets for the close of the day.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day in the ag marketplace, we're here with Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net. Curt, what do we see going on in the grain markets to wrap up this week?
Well, it's a typical Friday. It's almost clockwork. It seems just about every Friday's down. So if you sell it like Wednesday or so, I think you'd be in pretty good shape. But most of the attention was this morning here at sunrise, particularly in the east where the groundhog did not see his shadow. So we're looking at early spring. That kind of contradicts what some of the wise tales and Farmer's Almanac was looking at, but we'll welcome it for the most part. The only other exciting thing probably was the cocoa market. The cocoa market continues to move to all-time highs versus what we're seeing in the grain complex. Biggest thing in the grain complex, a little lower here going home Friday. Forecast is some rain in those dry regions. Argentina kind of dampened the bullish enthusiasm for the most part. But the big thing is next week we'll have the monthly supply-demand report on Thursday, and trade's gearing to a little slightly higher carryout estimate just due to the fact demand's real sloppy here for U.S. soybeans. As you remember, Thursday's weekly export sales report only showed the net sales of 6 million bushels, and that was mainly due to some cancellations. So soybean demand's in question, and we'll see what they do with that number. But the big number next week, it will be the South American production number. Same tone. Brazil continues to be downgraded, but Argentina and Paraguay continues to hang in there. So the overall theme is some decent supplies out of that southern hemisphere for the most part. This week, commodity funds continue to press the market. The overall trend still remains down. And going home Friday, going into midday, they sold about 2,300 contracts of wheat, 6,100 contracts of corn, about 4,900 contracts of soybeans there going into about the noon hour on that. Once again, next week we have the monthly supply demand report. The other thing is we go into the weekend next week, a week from now, is the Chinese New Year holiday, and they'll go into that golden holiday week of holiday there. And the significance of that is oftentimes maybe you see a little bit of buying interest ahead of that holiday. So we'll see if that sparks a little bit of interest for some U.S. products for the most part. After that, as we move into February, the 15th and 16th, we'll have the February Outlook Forum. We'll have a little bit more of a dialed in expectation for the most part on what they're looking for acres and on demand. But the biggest thing on acres will be the March 31st acreage intentions report. Basis, there's been that fear we're going to see this avalanche of grain come out of the woodwork. There has been a little pickup in cash grain movement, but guys just seem to be tight holders here. There's going to be some financial commitments here as we move on into February and March. So we'll see how things shake loose on cash movement. Chart-wise, man, had a great day Tuesday, turnaround Tuesday. I wish we could have a lot more of those. We had some outside up days on old crop, corn and beans, the technically real sharp. Ran into some resistance on the 20-day average, and for the week, corn backed up and closed 3.5 cents lower on the week. Soybeans finished over 20 cents lower in the week after they had a good up there. In fact, the beans kind of finished into traded in new lows going home here Friday. Wheat futures down 0.5 cent on the weekly chart. Technically, if you look at the Chicago wheat contract, it's kind of consolidating sideways, forming a wedge pattern. So we'll see what type of technical breakout we see with that. The other thing to watch is the overseas news. So far, the grain market's been kind of numb to it. So it's about time for the market to react to some type of news out of the Red Sea, Black Sea, Middle East there. So a lot of things to look forward to here as we start to move into mid-February.
And then, Curt, on the other side of the marketplace in the livestock complex, what did we see going on there today?
Well, they were cheering this morning, warmer, drier weather. Hopefully, mud's the main concern, man. It's that time of year, calving and having to deal with a lot of mud. Cattle inventory report that came and went, so we've got that out of the way. We'll continue to watch CFO and the heifer retention. Also, too, when you remember when we're looking at livestock numbers compared to many years ago, we got to remember we're feeding to heavier weights in the whole livestock sector itself. February fats were able to close up over $2 this week. It's amazing. They're $17, $18 off to the December low. So keep cheering those on. The lower grain prices helping input on the feed side. So we welcome that. Export 16. That's pretty good news. Japan bought 5.2. South Korea a little over 1. Exports hanging in there. Hog-wise, we're basically $10 off the January low. So just like the cattle, we've had some good recovery here. For the week, they finished up over 52 cents. Not a big gain in here, but they held in there. Pork exports, of course, was over almost 43. China taking about 12.6. Mexico, our best friend, took 13.4, and Canada took a little bit there too. On the pork side, pork bellies or the wholesale level, they've doubled here. So if you're a bacon fan, might want to put some in the freezer.
All right, Curt, lots of great information today. For those of our listeners who would like to get in touch and learn more from the folks at agmarket.net, how can they do that?
1-800-779-1515. That's our office here in Normal, Illinois, but you can go to agmarket.net, click on Intel.
Appreciate the analysis as always, Curt, and we look forward to hearing from you again soon.
Very good. Have a good weekend.
That again was Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net. Let's take a look at how those numbers closed and those prices coming to us through the market window at iowaagnet.com. March corn down 4.5 at 442 3/4. March soybeans down 14 3/4 at 1188 1/2. March soybean meal down 4.90 at 356.80. Soybean oil down 87 cents at 44.73. Chicago wheat down 1 3/4 at 5.99 3/4. Kansas City hard red wheat up 4 1/4 at 6.25 even. Minneapolis spring wheat up 3 3/4 at 6.99 3/4. March oats down 12.5 at 3.71 3/4. On the Merck, February live cattle up 80 cents at 180.55. March feeders down 7 cents at 244.80. February lean hogs down 35 at 75.45. February pork cutout down 75 cents at 87.25. And Class 3 milk down 4 cents at 16.28. And that's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, I run down some of the latest ag news headlines. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith, and it's time now to run down the latest ag news headlines. The USDA's National Agricultural Statistics Service this week released the Cattle Inventory Report, showcasing a 2% decline in U.S. cattle inventory. The report shows 87.2 million head of cattle and calves on U.S. farms as of January 1st, 2024. Of the 87.2 million head inventory, all cows and heifers that have calved totaled 37.6 million. There are 28.2 million beef cows in the United States. down 2% from last year. The number of milk cows in the United States decreased slightly to 9.36 million. The U.S. calf crop was estimated at 33.6 million head, down 2% from 2022. All cattle on feed were at 14.4 million head, up 2% from 2023. To obtain an accurate measurement of the current state of the U.S. cattle industry, NASS surveyed approximately 36,300 operators across the nation during the first half of January. Survey producers were then asked to report their cattle inventories as of January 1st, 2024, and calf crop for the entire year of 2023. In other news, the United Soybean Board reports that U.S. soy complex exports, which is whole soybean, soybean meal, and soybean oil, added $39.8 billion to the U.S. economy in marketing year 22-23, on a volume of 67.6 million metric tons. The shining star was U.S. soybean meal, as exports broke records for both volume and value at 13.2 million metric tons and $6.91 billion, respectively. Increased demand in the last 5 years from both Colombia and Ecuador boosted U.S. soybean meal exports by 15% and 36%, respectively, above their 5-year averages. Meanwhile, increased volume and higher prices saw U.S. soybean meal exports increase in value by 39% over the 5-year average from marketing year 17-18 through marketing year 21-22. Despite persistent challenges to international business, the volume of U.S. whole soybean exports at 54.2 million metric tons kept pace with the previous 5-year average of 54.4 million metric tons. And finally, I had the chance to talk with Myron Stine. He's the president of Stine Seed at this year's Iowa Ag Expo. Farmers have already been thinking about what seed to use this year, and they know they have to be prepared for just about anything this growing season. Myron and I first talked about Enlist E3 soybeans and the benefits they provide for producers.
Yeah, so Stine's we brought Enlist E3 soybeans to the market, and we're really proud of that. And today it's about 55% of the market, that trait platform. And so we're always excited. We have an array of new material every year that comes out of our breeding program in that trait platform. So we're always excited to bring that to our customers because that gives every acre its yield potential that it deserves.
And we know that Enlist E3, that's one of the big names that people think of when they're thinking of seed technology. And knowing that it's been used for a while, it's seen a lot of success. With this past year, we did see a lot of struggles. But what were some of the key takeaways, and how did Enlist perform over that past crop year?
Enlist, so it's on more acres than ever before. And I think that growers experienced the ease of the use of the herbicide technology. That's the biggest thing. Easier to use and highly versatile as far as what different weed pressures you have.
And I think that's been a big thing too, is like how many traits can you stack to have that wide toolbox for the kind of tackling disease, stress, and issues, because it really feels like recently we've seen about just anything you can. So I think a lot of producers really value having that stackability of those traits, right?
Oh, absolutely. And Enlist E3 was really it was the first molecular stack. So the first time that you actually had one construct with all three of the herbicide traits in it. And that was a big deal because that enabled the breeding entities, and especially ours, to rapidly come up with high-performing products. And that's really what the growers want. At the end of the day, the trait platform's exciting, but if the products aren't performing, you're going backwards.
On the corn side of things, one of the newest and most unique developments in seed technology has been the emergence of short stature corn. Believe it or not, there are many different benefits to having shorter corn, like having a greater resistance to wind damage. Myron said they didn't necessarily intend to create shorter corn hybrids, but they kept going with it once they realized the benefits.
Yeah, and so Stine was the originator of short-statured corn, and we perfected it within our system. And really what it comes down to is we don't specifically care if it's short or not. It just happens to be that our breeding program and the selection criteria we had in that program began to bring out all these hybrids that were shorter in stature or typically smaller plant types relative to the conventional hybrids that you would see out there. Did a couple things. They gave you a product you could plant at a higher density, so you got more yield per acre. But then you also have the standability that goes with that, which enables those products to do better in like wind events and things of that nature.
And then a big thing that people think about is like, well, shorter corn, am I getting less corn, when I go out there and harvest? But it's not, you're getting less ears on a specific plant. You're just getting a shorter inner node length, right? And then it's just a shorter overall plant.
Yeah, you have the same number of leaves. You have shorter nodes. The reality is whether you have a big, tall, huge plant or a smaller plant, you want about 1/3 of a pound of grain or so per plant. You don't want multiple ears. You don't want more grain per plant. You want really more ears out there. That's the way corn works. And we don't know why that is, but that's the way it is. So everything we do is about finding genetics where we can plant them thicker and get more plants and more ears.
All right, and then just thinking ahead on this upcoming planting season for our farmers who would like to get in touch and learn more and kind of figure out of starting that process of getting some Stine seed on their operation. How can they do that?
It's really easy. Just go to www.stineseed.com.
All right, Myron, and is there anything else upcoming with Stine seed that our listeners should know about today?
We just have for 2025, we're looking towards that right now, and we're very excited. We have a whole new corn lineup and once again a whole new soybean lineup to offer our customers.
That again was Myron Stine, president of Stine Seeds. And that's all the time we have for news headlines today, and that also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on social media at Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and X. And you can find our video content as well as previous episodes of AM PM on our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to see when those videos go live. Don't forget as well our free Twice Daily Market podcast on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson, Dustin Huffman, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.